Hi guys, it's MJ, and in this video I want to talk about socially responsible investing. It's quite a controversial topic, a lot to be said about it, but I thought let's actually just start off with a quick little example. The example is you are an investor, you have two companies to choose from, Company A and Company B. Both companies have the same risk, so we're going to say they have the same risk. Company A has an annual return of 8% and Company B has an annual return of 20%. Okay, and they got the same risk. So from a capitalistic point of view, Company B is better. However, we look at, we do a little bit more investigation. We see that Company A has got a very low carbon footprint. They employ lots of people, so lots of jobs are created from Company A. They do a lot of good things. They send a lot of their money to charities, and they're loved by the community. Company B, they're a toxic chemical plant that's polluting the environment. They employ little children, child labor, and they are responsible for the extinction of polar bears and all these other beautiful creatures. So they cause animals to go to extinct. The product that they make is really, really expensive. It's way past the fair price, and it's just, they're just terrible. Okay. Which company do you choose now? Do you still choose Company B that has the higher return? Or is this going to influence your decision? So if you chose Company B, then you are a full-on-full capitalist. So the idea behind this is that your mandate is to maximize returns with the desired level of risk. Because we're seeing the same risk, we're comparing 8% to 20%, and it would be absolutely crazy to choose anything else but the highest return. We're going straight in Company B. If you chose Company A, okay, it means that you are a human, and that you have a heart, and that you have a soul. And this is where socially responsible investing comes in. Is you say to yourself, going for Company B would be greedy, it would be irresponsible, it would be unjust, this should be illegal, this is terrible. I'm going to sacrifice the higher return for all these other benefits or values that be contributed to society. So it gets difficult because when we go into, say, the financial markets, very rarely will we find a Company A and a Company B that have the same risk, and such drastic different social responsible policies. What we might find is some companies might have charities, others, but also pollute the country. Others might say be a little bit toxic, but they're creating lots of jobs, and the risk might be lower. So it gets very, very difficult when you start, swapping these little things out, and you start changing the risks, so the one's a little bit more riskier than the other one, and it does get a little bit more complicated. Specifically because how good is creating lots of jobs, that's a very subjective measure. How bad is toxic? We don't say, oh, this has got a -5 evil points, that's another -10 evil points. Oh, extincting polar bears, -100 evil points. And then compare, carbon footprints, that's +6 good points. Jobs is +12 good points. It's weird. You can't come up with this pointing scoring for something that is subjective. And because it's subjective, it cannot be measured, accurately, or, in a way that's comparable. It does make it quite a difficult thing. Hence why we've got this thing known as socially responsible investing. And it's actually a good thing. It's a very, very good thing. I know depending on what type of education you've received, specifically from a capitalist point of view, capitalists see socially responsible investing as an inefficient waste of resources that you're not optimizing, and stuff like that. But like I said, if you are a little bit more human, okay, and you've done the whole socially responsible investing, regulation has set up, and yes, it does cause inefficiencies, but they've tried to set out, a bunch of standards for businesses to achieve. Saying, oh, so much money has to go here, so much money has to go there, and certain laws will block, saying you can't make toxic, you can't employ children, you need to protect the environment. These are all laws that restrict this kind of behavior, which means company B actually should not exist in our economy, which upsets certain capitalists because, well, we're saying goodbye to 20% returns. So it's a very controversial topic. That's why have fun in the comment section below. And there's a lot of politics involved and all that type of stuff. I know here in South Africa, we have something that is also fairly controversial, BEE, that stands for Black Economic Empowerment. And the idea is that it is to, right the wrongs of the apartheid legacy. So some people, and again, it's controversial because you've got some people who say, apartheid ended 20 years ago, so we should, stop BEE. Other people are saying that BEE still needs to exist because the apartheid legacy is, going to exist in perpetuity, and we always need this. So we need to, go ahead with BEE. And the idea is that, we need it because there's still systematic racism in the country, and we need to, be socially responsible. We need to bring back justice. And, there's a big debate. It's very controversial, behind the scenes of BEE. One of the problems with socially responsible investing, with BEE, with regulations and all these type of things, and a theme that I'm trying to get across with these videos, is that we set up a regulation, and the regulation has a certain goal. Okay, so the goal could be to, rid the apartheid legacy, or it could be to protect the environment, or stop child labor, and all these type of things. All these very, very good things. But rules that have goals like this sometimes have these unforeseen consequences. Sometimes the consequences aren't as bad, sometimes the consequences are major. For instance, one of the consequences here would be wiping out of this business, which would upset the capitalists, or reducing the, say, 20% to, say, 5% if they had to put in all these rules. It does create monetary inefficiency. It is not optimized if you're just looking at the return measurement. It is important because, especially in the environment, global warming, all these type of things, we don't really want to stuff up the country. But it comes down to that whole, a common good does get abused. It does get overused, and people aren't that it's like if you had like a watering dam or something like that, and everybody just had free use of it, they would end up stuffing up the dam and polluting it and all that sort of stuff. So you do need rules and regulations. But like I said, rules and regulations have got these unforeseen consequences. So we should be revisiting these rules, and we should be fixing them up as we go along, as we learn more about them. For instance, let's talk about, say, BEE for a second. BEE, the rules are constantly changing. They are adding on a whole bunch of things like this. But the general idea is that if you start a business in South Africa and it has a certain market cap, or it makes a certain amount of money, then you do need to give a percentage to someone who was previously disadvantaged. Or I don't want to use the word give, but you need to have a previously disadvantaged person as one of the owners. They should buy into it, or government will sponsor them purchasing into it, or something like that. It's a little bit more complicated than that. There are some BEE points and all that, everything. But anyway, for the sake of this discussion, let's assume that you have to, I wonder if I should use another board or just, okay, let's use a chart. I'm making an assumption here. So remember, an assumption is not necessarily true. It's just something that you state to make the discussion simpler. So this is an assumption. Don't shoot me down for this. But let's assume that the current BEE rules are that you have to give 50% to a BEE person. Okay, someone who qualifies for BEE. Now, I have a business. Okay, let's say I have my little business over here, and I have a bunch of previously disadvantaged workers. What I could do is I could give each one of these people 1% of my business, as part of their remuneration. Each employee gets 1%, and I can meet the socially responsible tactic. Or what I can do is I can find a certain individual who has a lot of political connections, or a big businessman, or someone who will be a great networking asset. And I can say to him, listen here, my company costs 100 million. Normally 50% would be 50 million, but I'm going to give it to you, say, for 20 million, because you have all these other connections and you can facilitate more business and stuff like that. So I'm going to give it to you. And other businesses start thinking, you know what, this is actually quite a good idea. Instead of us giving, 1%, or a few percent to, our workers, or to people who are maybe not that well off financially, the poorer people who this whole thing is supposed to be benefiting, what we should do instead is let's give it to some key individuals who are going to meet our socially responsible investing, and they're going to be able to do a whole bunch of networking with us. Because let's say, for instance, this company here has got a deal. Yeah, let's say these companies here have got a deal. But this company here can also have a deal over here. So it has to either choose between option A and option B. And let's say this company over here does actually give its percentages to a wide amount of people. So each person gets, say, 1%. So 50 people benefit here. And if they're giving here, just one person is benefiting. So you can see 50 is more than one. It's better to be beneficial like that. What this company could do here is they will say, well, we can either do the deal with company A, or we can do the deal with company B. Can't do it with both. But we both share a certain key individual as a stakeholder or as an investor. What we're going to do there is we're rather going to do company B because of this guy. He's created that network, he's created that connection. So because of that, these companies all say, yeah, it makes so much more business sense to rather get this guy as our partner on. Sell the business to him at a good price, incentivize him to buy into it because he's going to help us in the long run, and we are thinking like capitalists. Because what this does here is BEE, a rule made to help the majority of people who suffered under apartheid, instead of having, say, 50 plus 50, let's say each company has 50, 50, 50, and there's 5 of them. So instead of it being 250 people benefiting, okay, in these 5 companies, what's instead happening is one person is benefiting. Now, look, this is very much an assumption. This is a simplified model of BE. It is a lot more involved. I'm just saying this is one of the potential bad things that could happen. I'm not saying this is happening. You have to be very careful when you talk about BE in financial markets in South Africa. It is a very sensitive topic. But it is just one thing I wanted to point out is that the current method, well, what we see is with certain regulations, they do have certain goals, but there are unforeseen consequences. And the goal is to empower previously disadvantaged people. The consequence is that we're enriching a few and we're leaving out the majority of the people. So, I mean, you could fix this quite quickly or quite easily. You could say that each person can only contribute to a company's BE score once. So what that would mean is that, yes, this guy can get into this company. Maybe use a different color. This guy can, connect here, and he can give them BE points. Okay, if they link up with him. The first person he gives the BE points to. He can still invest in these other companies and be part of them and do business and everything, but he doesn't get BE points for any other connection. It should only happen once. So likewise with these people here, yes, they get their BE points. That's great. But if this company, say, wanted to give that person as well business or something like that, that wouldn't count. The BE point only happens once. because what happens here is then it doesn't go from just the one person. It does force businesses to give to people who don't have the advantage of having a percentage in a company. So you are going to be helping the masses now, which is what the goal originally was. So when a consequence comes up, it is very important to check out the rule and to change it. I spoke about this in a previous video. It is part of the something that I call the regulation cycle. So anyway, that is socially responsible investing. Like I said, it is much better to choose company A, one that has got a BEE plan in progress, has a low carbon footprint, it's not stuffing up the environment, is creating lots of jobs, is contributing to charities. Because at the end of the day, it's better to get a lower return and be human than to get a higher return and not be human. And this it is very difficult from, say, an actuarial or from a financial point of view, is we have been schooled so much, especially at university. We do have a very much a 100% capitalistic mindset. I'm not saying capitalism is bad, it's bad at the extreme. And we do need to temper it with these socially responsible policies, but we do need to be careful of our socially responsible rules, that they don't have these negative consequences or consequences that defeat the project. I mean, remember, BE is here to help the majority of people, not to just empower a few. So it's a very quick little fix. It's a little change that I think can help out, but that's just my opinion. Let me know what your thoughts are. But remember, this is a sensitive topic, so please, just be mindful of that in your comments. Don't just lash out. Let's not have a flame war. Let's keep this professional. Thanks, guys, so much for watching, and I'll see you next time for the next video. Cheers.